and welcome back to our wonderful channel. Today we're going to do something a little different than we've done in our other videos. I'm going to do her hair while I tell her about episode 2 and 3 of The Last of Us because we kind of missed before, but we're going to catch up. Episode 2 kind of goes really quickly. It feels almost like a filler episode, but it's also really important because we find out a lot about how the infected work, and also we can already kind of see some things happening within the dynamics of the little family that they have.
Okay.
But it's not a family yet. Okay. So it starts out the episode starts in Indonesia.
Ooh.
So we're in a cafe, and there's a woman sitting at the cafe, and she's eating what looks to be probably a lunch or maybe breakfast. And these two military guards, or military men, come into the cafe, and everyone kind of looks at them like, what is going on? We're in 2003, by the way. So we're in this cafe, and they go up to the woman who's eating what looks to be her lunch or her breakfast, and they say, like, could you please come with me? Basically. And they escort her out of the room, or out of the cafe, and into their car. And she's asking, like, are you sure you have the right person? And ask her, doctor, are you... I'm not going to pronounce her name because I'm probably going to get the pronunciation wrong. I don't speak Indonesian, so I apologize. But he's like, and are you a professor of university? And she's like, okay, so it's the right person. But she's like, I didn't commit any crimes. Like, why? She's kind of scared.
I would be.
And they're like, we know you didn't do anything wrong. We just, we need to talk to you. And they proceed to take her to a lab. They take her to the university, and there's more military people there. And they tell her that there was an infection. Someone got bit, and basically they need her to look at this fungus because they think that is what infected this person. And she still has, like, no idea what's going on. Like I said, we can basically gather together that it probably originated in Indonesia.
That's horrible. And so, like, rapid.
Yeah.
I mean...
It's very fast spreading. And there's no cure.
That's... wow.
So, then we quick cut to present day 2023.
Okay.
Ellie is asleep on this she's on the ground, but it's kind of like in a part where, like, the ceiling of the building that they're in is caved in, so the light is, like, cascading on her. It's really beautifully...
Okay.
This show is so beautifully shot. It's absolutely insane to me. I can't wait for season 2.
And Ellie is the little girl or the woman?
Ellie's the little girl. Tess is the woman.
Okay.
And Joel is...
The man.
Pedro.
Yeah.
The
man. The daddy.
Stop. Okay, so, Tess and Joel are just watching Ellie, like, watching her sleep. And because Joel, he thinks...
Yeah, in the last one, she was confirmed to have it, right?
Yes, the little device that they use to scan people confirms she is infected, and she does have a bite. So Joel thinks it's just a matter of time that she's gonna die, and, like...
Oh, and
they should just drop her and go back to the QZ.
Okay.
Tess is a little bit more interested in it.
Okay.
And not necessarily, like, interested in Ellie, but interested in the possibility of Ellie. And also, she's like, whether she's infected or not, we could still get the stuff that we need. Just we just need to get her to where she needs to go, and then we're gonna get, we can get the battery and we can go get Tommy. Because that's Joel's goal, to go and get Tommy.
Okay.
Or find out where Tommy is at. Because, again, they haven't talked to each other in a long time.
Okay.
Now, so Tess is basically telling Joel this is what they're gonna do. And he knows she's probably right, but just being around Ellie is still so traumatic for him.
Oh, because she's young.
And also, he just had the little episode in the last episode where he beat a man that he knew. So it's a little bit of an intense situation. So they agree that they got to go through the city, and Ellie is a little bit, she's never been out in the open. She's only ever been in, like, the quarantine zones.
Oh.
So she doesn't know, and she's never been in a car. She's 14. So she's never actually gotten to experience actual life. Or like a normal, non-infected life.
Wow.
And so she's like, why isn't there like a bunch of, infected just running around? And Tess, tells her like that's not really how it works. That, they don't really just roam around a lot. And we find out why here in a little bit.
Okay.
So the only way to go through the city, because the buildings, they bombed a lot of it. And it's all decayed now, because from 2003 to 2023, that's a long time. Okay. So they have to kind of go through the buildings to see where the safe path is.
Oh, okay.
So they go through this old hotel, and, Ellie is like, she's a kid, so she's like goofing around and stuff like that. And there's this really, really cute moment where she's in it's all flooded in the lobby of the hotel. Okay. So you gotta go through the water. And I was absolutely terrified because I was like, I just know there's gonna be one of them underneath the water and they're just gonna yeah. But that didn't happen. Oh. What did happen though was a skeleton kind of like fell on her, and Joel had to like go over there and like help her up and stuff like that. And it was this really cute moment because it's the first time he actually like voluntarily interacted with her, and you can tell both of them are like, oh, for a second we forgot she's just a kid. Yeah. Like they were just watching her kind of joke around, pretend like she's in a real hotel. Joel, you can tell by how Tess and Joel look at her in this moment that they did genuinely forget for a second that she was just a little kid. And it's like, oh, like I can kind of see I don't know if it was intentional or not, but like Tess almost looks like a mom looking at her kid. Aww. Like, oh, but then they gotta move on really quickly. And they gotta, like, you can tell both of them are like, she's cargo, we can't get attached.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, true.
So they gotta go through the building, and they make it to a part in the building where the ceiling has collapsed. So the pathway through is kind of in shambles, and Tess is able to, like, worm her way up into it, and leaving Joel and Ellie in the hallway to wait for Tess.
Oh, no.
And Ellie is like, she wants to, they both kind of, you can tell they both want to talk to each other, but then they don't want to talk to each other at all at the same time. And, like, Joel is so upset that he has to be here. Like, he's so uncomfortable that he's stuck in this hallway with her. And she's like, they're like talking to each other and getting to know each other a little bit more. And they almost have a slight bonding moment.
Oh, wow.
And then Tess, comes back. And I think it's really funny. He says he doesn't care about Ellie at all. But when Tess is coming through the doorway, they just hear, like, rummaging around. So he thinks that it's, like, an infected. So his first instinct is almost to get in front of Ellie.
Aww.
And even though he thinks she's gonna just die in a couple of days anyway.
Yeah, but that fatherly instinct.
It it kicked in there for a moment, and I don't know if that was intentional or not. Probably. Maybe.
That's sweet. Do you want me to turn?
Not right now.
Okay.
You should be fine. So they get to the upper level of the hotel where they can kind of like look out on everything.
Okay.
And this is you get to see the CGI and set design that they did for this show is absolutely insane. And you can see that there's all of these bodies lying down, they're laying down on the ground. And they're like spilling out of this building almost.
Ew.
And Tess then explains that, okay, so fungus, how it works is it's all connected. There's all of these intertwined. It's like how...
Like a tree.
Yeah, like it splinters out from each other.
Yeah.
The virus works the same way.
Oh
so
my God.
If I were to step on the ground or step on one of these little... Because there's all of this, like, fungus growing off the buildings and stuff like that. If I were to accidentally hit one of those, 2 miles away, any infected would be able to know exactly where I'm at.
Oh, my God.
And be able to get there in, like, minutes. So it's a little bit more intense. And so this is where, like, Tess tells Ellie, like, you might think you're not infected, but you can still get ripped apart. And so she's, like, trying to give her these life lessons of, like, you gotta be careful where you're going.
Yeah.
And I think because Tess is, like, kind of the person who she's given up on life. She just keeps going to keep going.
Yeah.
And I think slowly as she's seeing Ellie, she wants to believe that there can be more. You know?
Well, yeah, because it's been so long since it started.
Yeah.
And Tess is, what, 30s, 40s?
Well, see, okay, so in 2023, Joel is supposed to be in his, like, 50s, almost 60s, I believe.
Okay.
So I think Tess is about around that age, too. They're both pretty old.
So
or older.
She has a reason to, like, say, oh, I'm just going to throw my hands up because...
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Her, pretty much, she's just living to live.
Yeah.
She's not, like, she's living to survive. She's not living to actually be alive.
Yeah.
So, they see that the normal pathway has kind of just been overtaken, and they can't really go the way that they normally would go. Sorry, I don't mean to pull your hair.
You're fine.
And so, they have to go, they go a different way through the old museum.
Oh.
They can go through up to the top of the old museum and go out one of the other buildings because it's kind of blocking. It's kind of so demolished that they got to go through the building up and then out.
Okay.
But last time they were there, it had gotten overrun. So they have to go and check and see if it's clear now. And they go to it, and the door to the museum is open, and all of the fungus that's lying about outside is pretty much dead. So they think, okay, it's good.
Oh,
they can
that's
go in.
good.
They go in, and there is a dead person. It's fresh, too.
Oh, no.
But see, this person isn't just bit. It's like a bear attacked this person. And Ellie's like, what the frick did that? Because what happened? But Joel and Tess immediately look at each other and is like, okay, if we're going to do this, we're going to have to be very careful. They clearly know what did this.
Oh, yeah.
And they're scared.
Oh, no.
And so Joel tells Ellie, he's like, from this point on, we're not going to just be quiet. We're going to be absolutely silent. Do not make a single noise.
Oh, God.
And Ellie is like, okay, yes, sir, I will Don't yell at me again. And also she's terrified.
Well, yeah, I would be.
So they go
Body.
up through the building, and this is pretty much our first encounter of other than the first episode, of an actual infected person. What this, I say person, but it's no longer a person. The way that they designed these infected, or I keep wanting to call them walkers. I'm so sorry. I know it's not The Walking Dead. But the way that they designed it is so insane. So it's basically like, you know how fungus sometimes looks like flowers?
Yeah.
And it's like blooming outwards?
Yeah.
That's what it looks like. Its face. Its face is like, you know, like, Pan's Labyrinth. Kind of like...
Oh my god.
That looking thing. And it's got like T-Rex arms, almost. And it's making this clicking sound, this like...
Ooh.
sound. Because it's blind. The fungus has overtaken its face. It can't see you, but it can hear you really well. So you have to be super, super quiet. And basically a whole fight ensues. They're attacking. They kind of get separated. So, you know, Joel is over here fighting this one. Tess is trying to get Ellie over here. But then another one attacks Tess and Ellie. You know, they're running away. Ellie gets separated from both of them. And then she sees Joel. Joel gets over there next to her, and they're trying to get out, but find Tess, but also kill this thing. And it's very stressful. The whole thing had me on the edge of my seat. I had so much anxiety because I don't like it when you have to be quiet.
Oh, you're
and
never
these things
quiet.
move fast. And like, you know, I compare them to like the zombies in like Korean zombies.
Oh yeah.
I compare them to like Korean zombies because of how, like, you know how like on like Train to Busan, how they just fling themselves at you. That they really don't have they're not like walking at you. They're just like full speed, like projectile throwing themselves at your car. That's how these things move. They just kind of, you know. Oh, also the nurses from Resident Evil. Or not Resident Evil, Silent Hill. You know the faceless nurses?
Oh, yeah.
How they kind of like
do
like that thing? That's how they be moving. They're just like...
No, man.
And it's so uncomfortable. It makes me so uncomfortable. That's the only thing I can say. And...
Oh, and they still have that flower thing on their...
Yeah,
oh,
and so they're like... It's like throwing itself into bookshelves and things like that. And Joel ends up getting one of them. He kills the one.
Okay.
And so he's trying to protect Ellie, but also protect himself. And at one point, one of them throws themselves onto Ellie, and Joel, she's like trying to stab it and stuff like that. And Joel kills it. And then the one that's attacking Tess, you know, they're trying to protect her. They get away from this. They kill both of them. They get away from it. But Tess has hurt her ankle.
Oh.
And I think she's spraying it. And so they gotta keep on moving. They get up out of the building onto the roof, and they start, you know, wrapping up her ankle in tape.
Yeah.
And there's this thin board that goes from one roof to the other, and Joel's like, I know it's scary, but it's not that big of a deal. And Ellie's like, not as scary as that. And she just walks across it because she's like, I'm done. I'm going to go sit over here. And I know, she's like, I was just attacked by a crazy chicken monster thing.
Oh my god.
Clicking at me. So Ellie goes across. And
is it like echolocation or something?
Yeah, it's like, you know how when some, like, when, like, deaf people
Yeah.
click to be able to find their surroundings. It's like they developed that.
Wow.
It's a little
so
crazy.
So scary.
That like when one of your senses is taken away, the other ones are very heightened. So it's like its ability to hear and navigate around is by sound, and it's crazy that it just like learned how to do that. So Tess and Joel have this little moment, and she's like, I think she's actually, actually real. And because Ellie has, on the top of her bite that she already had, she has a new bite. She got bit. And Ellie's like, well, if it's going to happen to one of us.
Yeah, might as well be me.
Might as well be me. And, Joel's still like, grumpy old man about it. But Tess is like, she gets kind of upset with Joel and is like, just go be with her. I gotta, I'll finish taping my leg up. And she kind of has this moment sitting on the roof. And then they continue on. And they actually make it to the Firefly spot that they were supposed to meet them at.
Okay.
But there's nobody outside, and it's very quiet. And the trucks, there's these big moving trucks, and a couple of military trucks, and there's blood on the outside of one.
Oh,
They're
that
empty.
is not good.
And so Ellie's like, they had to have went inside this like building. I think it's like a Capitol building or something like that, or like a government building. It's a huge building.
Okay.
So they go in to the building, and there's just bodies everywhere. One of them got infected, and then they all just started taking each other out. So there's no one there. And Tess starts freaking out. She's like rummaging through the bodies, to see if there's maps. She's like, there's got to be a radio. There's got to be some sort of map. There's got to be something around here.
I went through all of that.
Yeah. And then she proceeds to show that she was actually, when she was attacked, Tess was bitten on the neck.
Oh, no.
And hers is very, like, her veins are starting to turn green. But she goes over to Joel, and she drags Ellie over there, and she shows him, and her bite is like a scratch. Like, it's almost healed completely.
Wow.
And so she's like, she's real. It's actually real, and it's like, this is, you have to take her. I'm gonna die. You've got to get her to where the Fireflies are at. There's supposed to be a base. This base camp of Fireflies, we're supposed to take her to another base camp of Fireflies where the doctors are at, and it's actually close to where Tommy's supposed to be at. So it's kind of in the same general location.
Okay, 2 birds, 1 stone.
Yeah, exactly. And Tess is like begging Joel, like, please, you gotta take her. Joel looks heartbroken because he's been with Tess for a long time. But see, and she's like, Joel, I never asked you for anything. I never asked you to feel the way I feel or, do anything for me. You just need to do this. And
that's so sweet.
Joel feels torn because, again, he's already lost his daughter. He can't find his brother. He's lost his previous wife. Mysteriously, we don't know how yet. I think there's an explanation for it, but I don't think we have that knowledge yet. Probably if you played the games. I haven't. I'm just going based off the show. But, so she's basically pleading with Joel, like, please, please take her. And then Ellie, in the midst of it, accidentally backs up because one of the dead bodies wakes up and, is attacking her. Joel goes over there and kills it. And she stepped on one of the vines.
Oh, no.
So all of those buildings full of infected are rushing at them right now. So Tess starts going around, and they have grenades and barrels of like, fuel and stuff like that around. So she starts dumping them all out. And she's like, Ellie's like, what are you doing? And she's like, I'm making it to where they won't follow you. Because she knows she's going to die.
Yeah.
So she's like, Joel, if you even cared about me for a minute, you'll take her and you'll leave. Because he doesn't want to leave her.
Well, no. I mean, he loves her.
Yeah, he loves her, but he never told her that.
Oh.
You could tell that he couldn't get himself to actually physically say it. But they both kind of know it.
Well, yeah.
And so him just deadpan face takes Ellie, grabs her by the back of her shirt, and just starts pushing her out the building. They're running away, and all of these infected just start pouring in the building. And Tess is trying to get the lighter. It's like one of those oh my god, it's the little middle ones.
Oh, with the lighter fluid and everything, yeah.
So she's trying to light it, and it won't light.
Oh my god.
But see, they're not looking at her. They're just going, because she's infected.
Yeah.
So they're just going into the building. They're all rushing in, except for one. It looks dead straight at her, and it starts coming towards her, and it opens its mouth, and the fungus that's in its mouth starts coming out and connects into her mouth.
Oh no!
I know. It was so gross.
No. Oh.
It was so gross.
God.
I was completely shocked.
Ugh.
So, but see, as this is happening, as this, they're connecting, you could say.
Ew.
She actually gets lighter to light, and the building explodes.
Oh, well, that's good.
She takes them all out. And then they're left with the aftermath. So, they're kind of away, but not really away. They're still kind of close. They know, Joel knows probably that the military forces, Fedra probably knows where they're at, or is on their way right now to check on what that big explosion was at. So they got to get out of there. He doesn't really want to leave, though.
Yeah.
And he definitely doesn't want to be anywhere near Ellie. And so
that's sad.
He's kind of having his little middle breakdown moment. Not really crying, but, manly crying on the inside.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, fine. I am going to get you to Frank and Bill, and then I'm done with you. I'm getting my stuff, and I'm gone. And Ellie doesn't really want... She doesn't want to be around him because she's never experienced that before. And she tried to say sorry about Tess, but, it wouldn't... It's not really happening.
Yeah.
He's not really having it. And they make their journey. She really doesn't have any other option either, though, but to go with Joel.
Yeah. I mean, what are you going to do? Just roam the country?
It's not safe. And also, she can't go back to the QZ because they'll know she got out. They'll know she's infected.
Yeah.
They'll find out she's infected and test her when she goes back, and then they'll just kill her. That episode actually ends.
Okay.
Now, we're going to mesh episode 2 and episode 3 in this just because it will make more sense.
Yeah.
Episode 2 or episode 3, and it is basically... Hold on. So episode 3 opens up actually with this really, really pretty scene of this water river, and Joel is putting his hand, because remember when he was beating that guy's face in, he broke it.
Oh.
Or he fractured the bone at least. So he's putting his hand in the cold water to try to
numb
heal
the pain.
Because he has no way of actually healing it. And Ellie is off is setting back into the trees, and he goes back over there to meet her. He's actually given her his jacket to use as like a little blanket, and so he cares, but he's trying not to care.
Yeah.
You can tell he's a very kind person, but is actually like trying to numb that pain.
Yeah.
And Ellie is eating some of the jerky that, because her little sandwiches that she had before are gone. And so she's eating some of the jerky. He eats a piece and then he hands her the rest of his. Because clearly he can go with food a lot longer than she can. Yeah. And he doesn't even want to look at her. He's so upset about Tess. And she basically tells him, like, hey, you and her chose to take me.
Yeah. I
did not choose for her to get hurt. So stop blaming me, basically, for things that she had nothing, or sorry, oh my God. She said, basically, stop blaming her for things that she has no control over.
Yeah.
And Joel's like, he knows that she's right, but like, again, he doesn't want to say that she's right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put this in a little.
Make me pretty.
And so they are on their journey to Bill and Frank's. Bill and Frank's are actually Bill and Frank are friends of Tess and Joel. More Tess than they are Joel, because not that many people like Joel. He's kind of hard to get along with. And we get to meet them in this episode in a very, very strange way. So, as Joel and Ellie are on their little journey, they're walking down this little pathway, and turn off again. The technical difficulties in this. They're walking down the road, and Ellie is just kind of like bouncing along, asking questions, being a normal, annoying kid, and Joel is kind of grunting through his answers, doesn't really want to talk to her. They actually run across a plane crash on this hill, and she's like, oh my gosh, you actually got to go like in the sky, like that's crazy. And
that's right, because she's never flown.
She's never been in a plane before.
Okay.
And so, he's like talking to her about stuff, and they kind of have this both like really sarcastic, dry humor that works really well. And he's like, okay, we're gonna actually split off the road and go this way because I don't want you to see what's down that way. And she's like, well, why don't you want me to see it? And he's like, because you don't want to see it. And she's like, you could lie and say like there's evil monsters down there, and I would believe you because I don't know anything about the real world, but I'm gonna go down this way. And so we run into this off of the road. There's this little ditch, and we see all of these skeletons in the thing, and Ellie is like, what is this? And Joel proceeds to tell her about what the government did. So basically, when they made the QZs immediately. They were able to quarantine off certain sections, but they didn't have all the room in the world, and they needed people out of the neighborhoods. And so what they basically did was they lined them all up in trucks, and if there wasn't any room at a QZ and they couldn't get them to another one, they just basically executed everyone involved. And there was like even like a little baby thingy there, and it's like really heartbreaking. So it cuts from this really gruesome scene of, you can clearly see there's like a bigger person holding this muslin cloth, and it cuts to the baby in the muslin cloth, and we see the mom, and we don't actually get to know them, but we know that is from this town are those people.
Okay.
And the soldiers are going and marking X's on all the doors to say, like, this house is done. They're knocking on this one door, and nobody is answering, so they think no one's home. So they exit out and they go on. But actually, in the basement of the home, there is a guy sitting at a camera, or sitting in front of a bunch of screens of cameras with guns all across the wall, like in some bunker crap.
Oh my.
And as the government leaves, he's like, haha, not today, you fascists. Very clearly a survivalist.
Oh, yeah.
This man is Bill.
Okay.
Bill is played by Nick Offerman.
Oh my God, that would be so funny.
His role is not funny at all. Well, it is, but it isn't, because I was not expecting him to play the character he plays. So he's got this big bushy beard and very, like, the government are out to kill you vibe.
Oh, yeah.
And quite literally, the government was out to kill them.
Yeah.
So he was right. So it proceeds to show us how he managed to go and get generators and set up a fence, an electrified fence. He set up booby traps. I mean, he basically has this entire neighborhood blocked off and is by himself.
Dang.
He has, I mean, he's eating steak. He's eating steak. He's got the fancy wine. Okay, he's out here got freaking crops, and he gets a boat and all this stuff. He hooks up the electrical grid. He's got hot water. He literally set up everything. He's got chickens and cows and things like that he's found and brought back to his little
Wow.
So he's got a setup, and he's by himself. Now that was in 2003.
Okay.
Kind of goes through the years of his life. Now, 4 years after 2003, he's sitting there at his table having his little dinner. Or he's sitting there in his house, and one of his little security camera dings, like, he had dug this pit, and something had fallen in the pit. So he's got to go out there and get rid of it.
Okay.
But the person inside of it talks to him.
Oh.
And he's like, hey, I'm a survivor. He's like, do you have any weapons? And he's like, no, I don't. And he's like, why did it take you so long to respond? And he's like, because I thought about lying to you, but then I thought it would be pointless. And so Bill goes and gets a ladder and lets the man up, and he's like, okay, now get out of here. And this man is like, hey, I'm really hungry. I'm just trying to make it to the Boston QZ. So they're close to where Joel and Tess were.
Okay.
And he's like, I'm just trying to make it to the Boston QZ. It's not that far from here. Could you just please give me something to eat for now? And they go back and forth, and, Bill really doesn't want to give him some food, but he ends up letting him come inside and have a shower and makes him a steak dinner with potatoes and wine, and the guy's like freaking out, and he's like, my name is Frank. So that is who Frank is.
Oh, I think I know how this is going.
And, Bill wants Frank gone, but also at the same time he doesn't, because he's not had anybody around in a long, long time. And they have this wonderful meal, and then, so Bill has this, like, piano. It's an antique piano. And Frank is like, I want to play it. And he's like, no, please don't. And he starts singing a song. And Bill's like, you stop singing right now. Because, like, it's upsetting him. Clearly, he has some sort of sentimental value to that song.
Yeah.
And doesn't want it to be sung. And Frank is basically like, listen, you sing it to me, and then after that, I'll leave, and you'll never see me again. Just please, just do this for me. And so he sits down there, and he sings a little song. It was so cute to see Nick Offerman literally singing.
Aww.
And then, it's a love song about missing someone that you love. And so Frank is like, who's the girl that you're singing about? And he's like, there's never been a girl. And then he's like, oh, okay, I see. And then they kiss.
Oh my god.
It's literally the gay love story I did not know I needed in my life.
Aww.
So then Frank proceeds to tell Bill to go take a shower so that they can hook up. Basically.
Wow.
And you can see immediately that this is the first time that Bill has ever actually been with a man.
Oh.
And it's this really, really sweet, like, they finally found someone moment.
That's so sweet.
And then it cuts to a couple of years later. They're fighting.
Oh.
So he didn't stay a couple of days.
No.
Like he said he was going to stay. He ended up staying years. So they're fighting because Frank wants to fix up parts of the town. And Bill's like, that's ridiculous. It doesn't make sense. And he's like, yes, it does. This is my town too. I want our home to be beautiful. And, we're going to have friends. And Frank's like, everyone's dead. Or Bill's like, everybody's dead. We don't have any friends. And he's like, actually, I've been talking to a really nice lady on the radio. Bill loses his freaking mind at this. And he's like, basically we find out that the woman is Tess. That's who he's been speaking to. They invited Bill and Tess over, Joel and Tess over for dinner. Bill has a gun on Joel, of course.
Okay.
And which is, they completely understand because it's like they're inviting these strangers into their house.
Yeah.
And
the situation.
Yeah. So Frank wants to start, because like I said, Tess and Joel are traders.
Yeah.
They trade stuff back and forth and smuggle things. And so Frank wants Tess and Joel to give them supplies for supplies.
Okay.
Because, see, they have gardens and things like that. They can get them fresh fruit and stuff. And see, because Tess and Joel they're kind of poor. They don't make enough cards to eat all the time. So it would be really, really detrimental to them to have this deal where they can get this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And not just that, there's like cattle, things like that. Other stuff that they can get. And then also they could provide medicine and things that they don't have necessarily at Bill and Frank's house. And
makes sense.
Bill doesn't want this at all. Joel is like, I wouldn't be here if Tess didn't make me. But it is a smart thing, to do trading and stuff like that. He understands the importance of needing other people.
Yeah.
And basically they're like, he's like, no, we're not doing that. But then Frank is like, okay, I'll call you. Basically, he's like, yeah, we're definitely gonna do that. Very married couple vibes. And we kind of go through their life, and you can see just how happy they make each other.
Aww.
And they even, one of the things that makes Bill trust Joel and Tess a little bit is they gave strawberry seeds to Bill and Frank for one of Frank's guns. And Frank's
Wow.
like, Bill's like, which gun? And he's like, it's one of the small ones. Don't worry. And they sit there and have this cute little giggly moment of like, oh my gosh, we have strawberries.
Aww.
Haven't had strawberries in years. Now Bill is older than Frank. And so he's like sorry that he's getting older fast. And this is the curls. But so he's kind of like, he feels like he needs to protect him. And it's really cute because they're sitting there with these strawberries and he's like, I wasn't scared until you showed up. Because he's scared that he's going to lose someone. And it's so freaking cute. So they go through and they have this little moment of eating the strawberries and stuff like that. And Joel had told Frank and Bill, hey, Fedra's not going to come and attack you because you're too far up in the mountains. There's not that many infected around here. You're fine with that. But raiders will come. And they will attack you. And it'll be at night. And you won't have a lot of supplies.
Okay.
That's why he was like, you need us.
Yeah.
And Bill's like, no, we're fine. And one night, explosions start going off like crazy. Because he has these, like, when you step on a wire, these, like, flamethrowers kind of go off. And so there's guys being lit on fire. They're trying to climb the fence, but they didn't know that it was electric. It's raining, so it's making it worse. Frank wakes up, and Bill's in the middle of the street shooting people, or shooting at people. Freaking going nuts.
Okay, corral.
Yeah. Frank does get to one of the guns, and he goes outside. Bill ends up getting shot in the lower abdomen. He makes it. He's fine. But he's like, I made spare keys. And Frank's trying to like sew him up, and he's like, you gotta call Joel. Call Joel. Get him here. He'll protect you. Because he doesn't want him to be unprotected. He doesn't like Joel at all. But he wants Frank safe. And he knows that Joel will protect him. It's so cute. And so they end up making it. He's fine. They save his life. In 2023. This is current year. Joel and Ellie are on their way to them. And Frank has cancer. So he's in a wheelchair, so he can't be up and running around as much as he used to be. And Bill is trying his best to help him out. I need to get a chair so I can sit down too. Sorry. Yeah. Ooh.
It's gonna be your face.
Joel is trying his best, Bill is trying his best to help Frank, but it's very difficult because he's older. Frank is kind of becoming sadder as the days go on.
Oh.
And the realization of, there wasn't a cure before, there's not going to be a cure now. Joel and Tess bring medicine to Frank that helps him be a little bit more mobile, but it's still like he can't get in and out of bed by himself. It's a struggle. So one day Frank comes, Bill has put him into bed, but he gets out of bed, took all night, but he got into the chair and he's sitting there waiting for him to wake up, and he tells him that this will be his last day. He wants to go out on his own terms, and he tells Bill that he wants to go down to the little boutique that they renovated. He wants them to get dressed up in something that he chooses for him to wear. He wants to get married And then he wants him to come home, cook him a nice dinner, and then he wants him to crush up all of his medicines and put it into his wine, take him to bed, and not wake up in the morning. And at first, Bill is like, absolutely not. I can take you to Joel. It'll be fine. And he's like, no, like you, if you really, really love me, you can do this for me, because there's absolutely nothing that they can do.
Yeah.
So they end up doing that. They go down to the boutique. They get dressed up. They put rings on each other.
Aww.
They get married. Because if you think about it, in 2003, it wasn't legal for gay marriage to happen.
No.
But so it's 2023. They did it. And they have their wonderful dinner, and he shows him putting it into the wine, and then he takes a drink, and he's like, there was already medicine in the wine, wasn't it? Because they had drinks before, and he's like, yeah. So basically, he also took the medicine.
So they both,
And he's like, I can't imagine, without you, I have no purpose, basically.
Oh.
You know, there's no one for me to protect. I've lived a very good life. You know, I've had good and bad days with you. I've had good and bad days before you. I'm happy and content with the life I've lived. I don't need to live anymore. And so they take each other to bed and they go to sleep. And then it cuts back to Joel and Ellie. And they are on their way to Bill and Frank's.
Okay.
Now this is after Bill and Frank have done their exit. And Joel knows the code to get into the gate because they visited quite often.
Oh, okay.
So they go in and they go to the house and it's unlocked and they're not there. And so he's like, this is suspicious because Bill wouldn't have left it like this.
Yeah.
The dinner is still on the table and things like that.
Yeah.
And he's like, don't touch anything. Stay in this one room, basically. Like, sit here and don't do anything. And he's going around to look, and he goes over to one of the doors and it won't open. It's actually their bedroom door. He's trying to get it to open, but it wouldn't open. And Ellie, he comes back into the room, into the dining room, and Ellie is like, there's a letter, and it says, to whomever, but probably Joel. So she's like, I guess I followed under whomever, and it's actually a note. And it basically tells him that, you know, he didn't really like Joel, but they were friends.
Yeah.
So, that's great. And he's like, I'm gonna leave all of my stuff to you.
That's good.
And so you can take whatever you want. And then it says in the letter to keep Tess safe.
Too late.
Yeah. It was really, really sad. And Ellie didn't want to read that part because she's reading it out loud to Joel. And he just lost Tess. Now, he didn't like Bill or Frank. He liked Frank, kind of, but didn't want to admit that he liked Frank. And he was like, he understands Bill. So it's like they were friends, but didn't say that they were friends. So it's like he just lost, basically everybody he knows is gone.
Yeah.
Everybody he knows is gone. And he's stuck there with this little girl. And he was supposed to take her to Bill and Frank, and he doesn't know what to do now. And they have all of these supplies. And in the letter, it tells him that the bunker code is just the gate code in reverse, and that he can take anything he wants.
Oh, well.
So he goes into the back where he has this really, I think it's a nice truck, but it's a beat up old truck. And the battery again. This man can't get any batteries that actually work. So he's got to rebuild it kind of and then charge it up because it was in the refrigerator.
Oh.
So they got to wait for it to charge up, and Ellie's like, I'm going to take a shower. And he's like, all right, I'm going to go take a shower too. And they change up. Actually, what they change into, the shirts that they are wearing, is what they wear in the game.
Oh.
It's like one of their more iconic outfits, I guess. And they decide, he's like, okay, if I'm going to take you, there's some rules. First off, we never mention Tess ever again. I don't want to hear her name again. Second of all, you're going to do whatever I say, when I say it, and how I say it. And then when I get you to where you're going, I'm done with you. Basically. And he's like, you can come with me if you do that. And she's like, awesome, because she has no other option. What's she gonna do? And they get in the car. She's never been in a car before.
Oh.
So it's like a spaceship. She's sitting there pressing all the buttons. She's looking around. She's freaking out. And she's like, he's like, put your seatbelt on. And she doesn't know what a seatbelt is. So he has to buckle her in and stuff like that. And she's the only kid ever to be like, that's so cool. And
that's so cool. That's funny.
Then, she's playing around. She finds these old cassette tapes. She puts it in. And he's like, no, like, don't play music. This is not supposed to be, it's not a fun family road trip.
Yeah.
But he actually ends up liking it. I think it's a Loretta Lynn song. And Ellie's like, I guess it's okay. Because, moody teenager. Yeah. And basically, they drive off into the sunset. And thus begins the actual journey.
Ah.
And
that was a journey.
Yeah. I told you the shortened version of it. But
don't forget, the last scene of that episode is the open window of the bedroom.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. They drive off into the sunset, and actually one of the last scene was in the letter. They said that they wrote that Frank left the window open in the bedroom so that the house wouldn't smell because they didn't want to ruin the house.
Oh my God.
Oh
wow.
And that is actually the last scene of the episode, is that open window.
Aww.
It's really beautiful. It's like got their little picturesque house, outside yard and stuff like that. And it's really a beautiful scene. And
that's sweet though.